Welcome to Raging Bullets, a DC Comics fan podcast, episode 711.
From the sleepy suburbs of Cleveland, Ohio, there are assembled the world's two greatest podcast hosts, created from the cosmic legends of the universe. Sean Whalen.
Welcome to Raging Bullets, a DC Comics fan podcast. I'm a big fan of variant colors. My love for Batman is that stuff. Let's talk some comics.
And Jim Segulin.
How's it going, eh? You know me and Superman. I'm really loving what they're doing. Raging Bullets is a spoiler podcast.
Their mission? To discuss DC Comics in books, movies, and television several times a month in 1 to 3 hour episodes. And to serve all mankind.
Outstanding.
Welcome to Raging Bullets. I'm Sean Whalen, drnorge, and I'm joined as always by my co-host Jim, the sensei of the whatnot, Segulin.
How's it going, eh?
Jim, on this episode, we're going to be talking about Wonder Woman #1 and Nightwing 106 as we continue our look at the dawn of DC. We are sponsored, as always, by DCB Service and InStockTrades.com. Jim, what is going on over at DCBService.com?
We have The Outsiders, issue number 1 of 12, 40% off, only $2.99. Speed Force, issues 1 of 6, 40% off, only $2.99. And Superman 78, The Metal Curtain, issues 1 and 2, 40% off, only $2.99. Thank you, DCBS.
Over at InStockTrades.com, we have Batgirl Year 1 trade paperback, the 2023 edition, $19.99, regularly 50% off, only $9.99. And we have DC vs. Vampires, All Out War Part 2 hardcover, $19.99, regularly 50% off, only $9.99. I want to thank DCB Service at InStockTrades.com for continuing to support our show. Mr. Segulin, what kind of a podcast are we?
Raging Bullets is a spoiler podcast. We go in-depth into plotline, story twists, and whatnot of the comics we're discussing on today's show. So if you haven't read the books, you may want to come back later so you can better enjoy the show.
Let's talk some comics.
Through the magic alchemy of nature's most awesome sources of energy, Ray Palmer, atomic physicist, becomes the Atom.
Jim, our first discussion this episode is going to be of Wonder Woman #1. Wonder Woman, Outlaw Part 1. Tom King is the writer, Daniel Sampere on art, Tomeu Mori on colors, Clayton Cowles on letters, Sampere and Mori on the cover, Julian Totino Tedesco, Stanley Artgerm Lau, Mikel Janin, Matteo Scalera, and Moreno DeCinio, Chris Pacello and Jamie Mendoza on the variant covers, Chris Rosa is the associate editor. Brittany Holzer is the editor. Paul Kaminsky is the group editor. Wonder Woman created by William Moulton Marston. And apologies there because, obviously, historically, I think I've seen enough documentaries at this point about it that I would have gotten that one right. But apologies for any name butchery across the board there. This is outstanding. I'll just pass the line. This felt to me like what I felt, and I don't say this lightly, when George Perez relaunched Wonder Woman. I felt like this energy that was really cool. And there's been other runs along the way that have had that level of energy. This is a high energy book. Out of the gate, it was immediately intriguing. It makes a lot of changes to the status quo. Yet, the most important piece is, when we eventually see Diana in it, she feels like Diana, immediately compelling. It feels like who she is. There is a sense of, I want to see how she's reacting to the events of the story. And I really deeply care. And her reaction is, I am drawn to it. And I care. And I just really want to see what's going to happen next. They set up a villain that feels big and feels like something that is going to be just making some noise, not only in this book, but has potential reverberations elsewhere in the DC universe along the way. And I'm always a fan of that when you start crafting something that feels like, wow, this villain interacting with other villains, this villain interacting with Superman, this villain interacting with Batman. All could be different. Don't need it right now, but you see that it's a building blocks to something. This just felt huge. And that's all I can say about it. What was your impressions on this one?
Here's an interesting thing. I've heard arguments, from people that about can a man write a female character, or can they do it really well? And I was, a good writer can do it, but in the back of my mind, I started looking at my favorite Wonder Woman writer is Gail Simone. So I'm like, is it because Gail is awesome, or is it because she has a better connection to this female character? And then you read something like this from Tom King, and you go, oh no, a great writer writes great. So this is something that, again, this is a brilliantly crafted story. Right from jump, had me going. And as you said, when we finally do see a Diana, she fits so perfectly, but also her supporting cast fits in there perfectly. This right here shows you that great writers do great things. So Gail Simone's not just a great Wonder Woman writer because she's a female. It's because she's a great writer. Tom King is showing that, a man can write Wonder Woman and do a brilliant job of it if they are a brilliant writer, which he is. So this, for me, was something that was really cool and really, like, we were texting back and forth when you read it, like, oh, we got to start off with Wonder Woman 1. I'm like, yes, we do. And I was completely right along with you on that because of this is just an absolute jump. I keep saying how I want more Wonder Woman stuff. I want more Amazon stuff. She's a member of the Trinity. I want them to show me, yes, she is. Right here, we're doing that. You talk about a villain that's going to have ramifications across the DCU. She should be introduced in one of the Trinity's books. This works perfectly. I'm loving this.
Yeah, and it's funny when you're mentioning, does Wonder Woman need to be written by a great female writer? I think the same is reverse. When you take a look at, let's use Gail as an example. Gail's writing of male characters was outstanding. I think, it's not... I think, obviously, if you are the same gender, you're going to have an insight that is intuitive because of the fact that that's your gender. But I really feel that, like, a strong writer can get in touch with both and can be connected to both. And it can, I think there's an empathy. I think there is there's an emotional piece to it. I think really talented writers are able to see multiple layers of all kinds of people. This is a great example of that in this book because I couldn't agree with you more. I think this is right out of the gate just a tremendous kickoff to this run. I love the fact that we see this sequence in the beginning where it's in the pool hall. And, I didn't know what was going on. I am touching you, slamming his head into the table. Great dialogue sequence leading up to it where this guy is, definitely male bravado and things like that. And crossing the line in some of what he's saying, you sit there and go, to the point where she's putting him through the pool table? What is going on here? And you get to see that this is something that's built up out of this Amazon, out of frustration over time. I want to know more about the story. I want to know more about her. I want to know more about what's driving her. Is she intrinsically motivated? Is she motivated by some exterior source? Is she motivated by the reveal that we get at the end of the story? Is there something to that lasso of lies, which I know I'm jumping to it, but did that have some impact here? I loved that in my second, I wanted to read it, and I did right away. I read it the first time through, and I read it immediately again. I don't always do that. I do it when I really, really enjoy a read, where I kind of just want to go back through and, oh man, I just want to experience that again. Boy, is this fun to read when you know where the story's going. And you start thinking through, okay, what is leading to the events of this story? And you don't have all the answers. Because that's a great mystery, right? Where there's clues that have been put out here. There's details that have been put out here, which may or may not be clues to what's going on. And I love seeing that piece play out. And also, I love me some good Amazon violence.
Oh, God, yeah. And I'll tell you, Daniel Sampere is now on my list. Those artists, when I see their name, I immediately will go to it, regardless of the character. He's on that. I've got a list of artists who, if I see their name on something, I will read it just because I see their name. Yeah. He is now on that list of mine because I absolutely, capturing the beauty and the grace and just the chaos of combat is always something really cool, when you get people who do it right. But that when she's slamming him down through the pool table, the reflection of the one guy's face on the 3 I was like, oh, that is so cool, because it shows the guy going, huh? Look, one of the buddies, and then later you see him taking down that guy. It was absolutely brilliant. I loved this artwork.
You mentioned the beauty of the combat, and I would also go with there's an elegance to the Amazons in the way they carry themselves. Their way of doing combat, which I know is more of what you're saying. I'm just more adding to it and building off of what you're saying versus contradicting in any way. Because there is something about grace. You mentioned grace, and I think that term is really interesting when you're doing any kind of combat involving the Amazons. There is not a waste of motion. There is a fluidity, and there's an economics of motion, right? Because they need to be aware of the next move and who could be coming up behind them, because they are true warriors. This is not a emotional combat. I mean, even if there's an emotion driving it, this is still a calculated, thought-out combat for the Amazon. And yeah. I love that piece looks great. What I also really appreciated is we see a decent amount of combat, sort of, but a lot more of it is in shadows and noises, and it's splatters where your mind's they give you an establishment of what is going on, and then they leave you to figure that out in what is going on around you. And that whole page afterwards where you see her shadow, through the windows, and a few people being attacked, and then gradual pulling out of the camera and somebody flying through the window. There's a whole bunch of nonsense going on in there that we just aren't seeing, and you don't need to. That was the part, and then we go to the news article and go, oh yeah, of course everybody's talking about this. Whoa.
And I loved how this was over several days, several weeks, where the story just keeps building and building and building, which is what we see in the media. When they get something, when they get a tragedy that they can go on, they will keep compounding and going on and on and on, and just keep talking and talking about it, to the point where we see it get escalated beyond a local assault to federal law. And it's really taken over the top. It's not just one person who did this. It's all the Amazons are dangerous. All of the Amazons are evil. We can't trust them. And again, we see at the end of the book, they've got the lasso of lies, which is manipulating the situation. But still, this rings very true to how we look at how a lot of times with society, where you see that building and building and building. And if the news has nothing else to talk about, they're just going to keep going over and over and over the tragedy. And eventually it'll escalate to even, again, it escalated to laws. It escalated to actual, laws against the Amazons, kicking them out of the country, regardless of whether they've done anything wrong, just because of one attack. One attack did all this. It wasn't multiple strikes. It was this one attack in a pool hall, because of the way the world is, the way things are playing out. I absolutely love this.
Yeah, everything about this worked really great because of that. I liked how it felt contemporary because of what you're talking about, the way that the news media was handling it and the way that was written. And that's one of the areas where I'm linking it back to Perez and other runs, similarly, after that moved the story forward, moved the needle forward, and made it feel more today. This really established a world that felt very, very now. Moving to that Sergeant Steele stuff, that was really some great bits, too. They're establishing a lot in this, because you're establishing supporting cast, you're establishing players. I feel like he's going to be in Wonder Woman quite a bit because of the way that they're kind of establishing his role and his overall feelings regarding Amazons and Diana and everything that's going on. So that was something that, he's got a reason to blame his own disgrace on what's going on there. And he's his relationship with Waller, I'm referring to too. It's an interesting sort of piece where he's got this established role in the DC universe as being this kind of guy that's going to be a catalyst of a whole bunch of stuff. I mean, this is shaking up the world. Not just Wonder Woman, it's shaking up the DCU, because this is going to change Wonder Woman's relationship with the DCU. It's clearly going to change the Amazon's relationship with the DCU. And it's coming really at a time where I feel it's like this is exactly what the dawn of DC is all about, right? You should be reading these books because we're doing some really cool stuff right now. And I applaud them for it.
Yeah, and again, that Sergeant Steel is an awesome villain. And, it's one of those things where, yes, he's 100% the villain, 100% the bad guy. I completely disagree with what he's doing, how he's doing it, and, and whatnot. But I understand why he's doing it.
Yep.
And I love that. It's one of those things that really good writing of Luthor, where you can understand why he's doing what he's doing. You disagree with it completely, but you understand it. And I think that is awesome, because a lot of times villains sometimes are just villains. And you're like, if you applied all that, the resources you have, you could make legitimately millions of dollars instead of trying to steal millions of dollars and deal with the superheroes. It's like Penguin sometimes, if he just legitimately ran the Iceberg Lounge and did it legit, he would make millions. He would be a millionaire and wouldn't have to fight the Bat. And there's times when he's been, kind of legitimate, And same thing like with Riddler. We saw those moments where if Riddler would just apply his intelligence instead of being the Riddler, but be Edward Nygma, he could actually do something and be successful. And I love seeing why this guy is doing what he's doing. It makes perfect sense for this guy. This is a villain I understand. I get why he's doing it, and that makes it so much more enjoyable. Plus, this is a guy I actually think could go one-on-one with Wonder Woman. He could actually give her a challenge. And you need to have that villain that you're like, yes, this is somebody I could see pushing Diana to limits. This is somebody I could see who would actually have to, where Diana would actually have to gut up and, would have some rough times taking this guy down.
Now, when you say tough time taking him down, are you talking about in physical combat, or are you talking about his ability to strategically think through battles?
Oh, I'm talking strategic. Okay. Physically, she could take him because she's got.
That's where I was like, when you said giving her, I'm more looking to clarify what you're saying versus, for myself. Because I thought that's where you were going. I just wanted to be sure that I was understanding you correctly. I agree. It's interesting. I wasn't thinking of it to the level that you were until you were kind of laying out no, this guy's a legit contender in what he's doing, because he's going to play cards in a unique way with Diana. And she feels it's serious enough that she's talking to Steve about it too.
Yeah. And I love the fact that she does go to Steve.
Yeah.
You need to, and as I said before, this is getting the supporting cast, getting the people who understand Diana. This is, Steve would be a confidant. And it's not even just one visit, it's multiple visits, talking to Steve, what's going on with him. And again, I love how, she poses that one question: if they call for help, will you go? And that is a really neat thing, because that's a tough line for a soldier. That's a tough line, when you're called into duty. Do you go? And he knows Diana's not the bad guy. He knows Diana's a good person, and he knows that Sarge is the bad guy in this situation. But if he gets the orders from on high, what does he do? And I think that is going to be a really cool thing on how this plays out with Steve and Diana, because that is a whole nother possible side story that I'm looking forward to them exploring with this, because that's going to happen. Because if I'm Steel, I'm going to use this relationship, because everybody knows they've got a connection, that they've got friendship, that it's a relationship, whatever they are, it's not a secret. So if you're Sergeant Steel, you're going to use that, whether it's using Steel to find Diana, whether it's using Steve as bait. There's going to come a time when something's going to happen because of this relationship.
It's interesting that you say that because that's a good point. It's not something that I think is often used in the fashion that you're talking about, is the fact that it's known that Steve and Diana were a thing, are a thing, whatever you want to call what that is. So it's interesting that I don't think of that as being utilized in the way you're talking about as something that happens very often, where now you've got Steve put in this position, which is intriguing. I'm not saying it hasn't happened before, but it's not something that stands out to me as like, oh my God, we're doing this again. It's an intriguing way to take a look at it. And she asks him, I love that she asked him the question, if they call for help, Stephen, will you go? And I thought that was pretty cool. The father and daughter bit was really well done. The news story on that, where, you know, the daughter's all like, you know, I dressed as Wonder Woman. She is so cool. Ping, ping, ping. I am Wonder Woman. You know, that kind of thing. Yeah. But the dad, in the meantime, is saying, you know, everyone knows these people got away that isn't at all American. You know, now we're pulling that piece in out of fear. I'm just saying what every dude is saying. We got to do something before they wipe us all out. And it really is now fear is talking, you know, fear and misunderstanding. Again, we've got right now one Amazon, right? Who's done this, as far as we know.
Just and one attack.
We're jumping to
one night. Is creating this, and I love, like you, I love this page. This was another one of those art pages that had me going, "This is awesome." Go from the bubbly, energetic daughter to the father, and then as each panel's going on, they're getting closer and closer to his face, and you can really just see the disdain, the disgust he has towards these people. And I'm like, oh, this is awesome.
Yep.
I absolutely loved the usage of the artwork and the writing. This right here, this is a creative team that is firing on all cylinders, working together. Let's throw colorists in down there, lettering, the way things are laid out on the page. This is full on. Yes, I love this page because, again, you know, you take that, the daughter and then the father, and just it was just absolutely brilliant. I loved it.
Is the character Cybele or Sibel, or I don't know how to pronounce it. You know what I'm talking about, this whole bit with Sergeant Steele where he's at the door. I remember her, this from previous stories. I remember the story of them and their daughter and that type of thing that was going on and seeing that piece. I really liked how that all played out because I'm like sitting here going, and it really is an area where, to your point about being a bad guy, they have walked in there with the intention, there was no way this was going to go other than they're taking the daughter away. Like, they want her out of the country. There is no vehicle for her to take the daughter with her. That was not something they were going to allow. That was not something they were going to go along with. And I really appreciated the fact that the story was going here because it's really a lot of questions of morality and fear. We are reacting out of fear, policing out of fear. Nobody's like having a conversation, like breaking down, like, would the Amazons even help us, you know, to like pin down and police one of their own? Nobody's doing any of that, right? I mean, I haven't seen anything in the story about that kind of outreach. They're just now, it's out of fear. We can't trust any of them. And
there's a couple panels where they say that the Amazons are hemming and hawing.
Yeah.
Now, were they actually? I don't know. Mm-hmm. That's coming from the bad guy's side point of view. Like, oh, they're hemming and hawing. They're not going to do anything, so we're going to take matters into our own hands. And again, this isn't a police force. This is an execution team.
Oh, yes.
This is a kill squad. And again, you see it. They're coming up to the front door. They're going around the sides. They've got the back. They've got the one guy who's got his weapon trained on the daughter just in case she does anything. And that's where the fighting starts. The guy is outside the daughter's window. He's got a weapon pointed at it. So the Amazon is defending her daughter. But not to them. Oh, no. Leave the fourth authorized. And they just unload on her. And it was one of those really, again, brilliant usage of the horror of battle. Because they did the shadowing of Nyx when she's getting shot, and then later they show her dead body on the ground. But the actual entry, bullets striking her, they don't show that. They use it in the shadow. Just like how they did before in the other fight scene. I love that kind of usage of it, because it still gives you the powerful moments, but you don't get the gratuitous gore. It's brilliant usage of the way the artwork was done. And again, this kill squad was set up correctly. You know, I love. It's one of the things I love about Tom King's writing. You know, and his layout of the books. He understands how a kill squad would approach a situation like this. He's got the history and the background, and he knows this kind of stuff. And I love how this is set up. And you don't go in when you're going up against a very powerful enemy. Yeah. You don't go in one or two guys. You go in a heavy squad, armed to the teeth, where your first indication of danger, lethal force authorized. I loved how this played out, and it was one of those things that really, does drive home that these Amazons are trained warriors, but Diana's the one who's invulnerable. All the others are, for lack of better words, just normal people. They're not superhuman strength. Now, our Amazon from the very beginning, she may have some augmentations on her, just because you saw that pool cue. The guy breaks the pool cue on her, and she doesn't even react to it. So to me, there's something going on with her. But right here, you clearly see Amazons aren't bulletproof. They can die. And it's absolutely capturing the horror it's brilliant artwork, brilliant storytelling. I absolutely love these pages. And again, I'm loving it. It's horrific. It's awful. And the way Sarge is written and drawn throughout this, how he's like, well, hey, do you want to tell your daughter, or do you want me to tell her? It's up to you. She's coming with us. She's not going with you. You're leaving. Oh, and your wife's dead. Just the way he's written, the way he's drawn in these sequences, I was like, oh, this is such a brilliant couple pages.
Yeah, it's one of those strategic things too, where they took out the wife, left her alive to tell the story, because they're trying to and there's a strategic reason to do that, right or wrong. Yeah. Because she can warn the others, listen, they gunned her down, and I mean they tore through her like nothing. Basically building this culture of fear, yes. Listen, don't you come back, and don't you try taking our children, because we will take them back from you. Which is the messaging there, no matter how he puts a spin on it, right?
Yeah.
And that part's intriguing.
And then you keep going on, and you're interviewing the one senator and all that stuff. And obviously this is a piece of garbage, but he's playing the part. He's the politician. It's going on. And I love the scene where they show the one where the Amazon's going peacefully. She's in cuffs. She's walking away. Then the next thing you see her, they shoot her in the back.
Yep.
So it's like, there you go. There's no way they're going to let them live. They're going to execute them. They're going to let a couple of them go so they can spread the fear in the camp, because fear is a great weapon. If you can instill fear in your enemy before the main attack, oh, that's awesome. Now, one thing that doesn't work well on the Amazons is instilling fear in them. You think about it. This is a group who they're going to recognize what they're doing, and that's going to fuel their fire for combat, which again is what the bad guys want. They want a violent response from the Amazons to say, see, we were right all along. This is the bad guys. These are the bad guys. We have to eradicate them from existence now. It's brilliant how they're laying this down. And I'm sitting here reading this going, oh, this is awesome. Especially with the whole taking the children away, because that is something huge that the Amazons are going to want to fight and get their daughters back. And oh man, I'm loving this. It's again brilliant writing of true evil. We are seeing a true evil going on here, and this is something we need to see facing Diana. Because I always say Diana's truest power is her compassion and love. That is the thing that makes Diana just so Diana. And now she's going up against somebody whose true power is hate, lies, anger. All the nastiness of evil. This is going to be awesome, man. I'm so looking forward to this.
So, well, if I would like to jump back to one thing that the senator said that I just thought was intriguing the second time through. Jerry, you know as well as I do, that everyone hears everything these days. If you believed all of social media, you'd think the country was run by a secret king or something. I was sitting there looking at that, I'm like, oh my God, I did not catch the significance of that the first time around. Yeah. You've really got to know what's going on at the end to go, is he in on it?
Yes. Well, first read through, I'm thinking, oh, okay, like everyone talks about the Illuminati and this and that. Yeah. And then when you get to the end, like, oh no, there is a secret king who's running things.
Yeah.
Okay. That is awesome. Yeah, I agree with you. That is awesome.
Really, really cool stuff. Flashing to Nubia, and I was ready for this at this point. The pacing of this issue is really, really great. You know, we're now well into the book at this point, and we have not really seen any of our regular cast. And I really, really enjoyed that piece where we're seeing Nubia now. We still have not, other than Walking with Steve, we still have not seen Diana in much of a role in her own book. And I really appreciated that choice. We are setting a stage here.
Yeah.
This whole Nubia thing and what's going on there, I mean, you know, she's asking in her response. You know, she's reaching out to Diana, and Diana has kept her silence. Yeah. She's got a decree that Amazons were to leave the country and unite at the island. You know, they're like, you know, get back to the island and go off of that end. I really appreciate that. Diana sending back her sword. In what I now do, I must avoid temptation. So it's her attempt to, she's going to stand against the, not the Amazon, but she's standing against man and what they're doing. But she's like, I can't do it by carrying the sword. I have to do it a different way. And it's an interesting path where she's clearly going against the wishes of the Amazon Queen, because she has to be this symbol. And she knows she has to be Wonder Woman here. Diana's done this many times in her career. It's very true to Diana. Harder to do now, considering the situation that she's in. And I really, really appreciated how authentic it appeared to be.
Oh, God, yeah. Oh, big time. And again, you know, this is the kind of some of the cool stuff going on that the Amazon's Attack miniseries is going to start building off of all the stuff that's going on in Wonder Woman #1. Plus, Wonder Woman 1's going to have Diana dealing with this. So this is going to be a really cool adventure going on. And, you know, again, it was so cool to see Diana go, I can't have a sword. Yeah. I love that. It was like, again, she's got to go with Lasso of Truth, with just her. Because, again, she can't be the god of war here. She's got to be the god of peace. She's got to be the ambassador. She's got to be the princess. She can't be the warrior here, because that's what they want. They want the killer. They want somebody who snapped Max Lord's neck. They want that to show that to the world. She's got to handle it a better way. And you can see it in the cemetery scene.
Yep.
You know, again, another kill squad going after her. Sniper set up that as soon as he gets a clean shot, take it. You know, this is 100% an attempt to draw Diana out to kill people. Now, she doesn't, but they report that she's the aggressor. And I loved how this thing played out, because you got the squad showing up, you got Sarge Steele really either thinking he's got her beat or thinking she's playing into my hands. You know, he's got that arrogant cockiness to him. You know, and I don't know if he really thought his team could take her down, or if he knew whether they take her down or not, she's going to get marked as enemy #1. And that's something I thought was kind of cool. Because, again, art sequencing, you know, showing the team moving up, showing the sniper getting ready, showing him zeroing it on her head, taking the shot, and then they do that full-page spread where she blocks the bullet. And you get that awesome, cool picture of her just standing there in the snow blocking the shot. I love that.
The beauty of that with the white snow and the birds and things like that. Yeah. I really appreciate when an artist can take something like it's an action sequence, but it's a beautiful. I mean, wow. I love this version of Diana's costume, what he's crafting here. And I just think it's a really good look. I like his version of Diana. And to your point, this is an artist who is really making a statement with this book. I love when a book is like, we are a top-tier book. Wonder Woman's been one of those books over the years that has had peaks and troughs. It's, you know, and what I mean by that is there's been definitive runs where you go, oh my gosh. But has not always historically been thought in the same way that you think of Batman and Superman, even though she's a part of the Trinity. You know, she is one of the big three. When you got a truly talented team of writing and art that is on one of these Wonder Woman books and they nail it, you get a reminder of, oh, Wonder Woman is the book. I mean, you should be reading this book. This is every bit up there with, you know, it's one thing when I'm reading Batman stories right now that I think Chip Zdarsky, for example, is hitting it out of the park. We've got a lot of great writers right now on, you know, Batman and Robin's a great book, Detective's a great book, and we've got different writers on all of those books that are really just nailing it. This book is in that category. I think Superman's books, top tier right now. This book is in that category. It's where it's frustrating to me that I'm not hearing more noise around comics right now, because I really think there's some real top tier, top quality books out there like this, that like this first issue, you want proof of concept as far as like you're not a comic book fan and you like the Wonder Woman movies and like where can I get more adventures? Well, you're not going to get them on the big screen right now. Yep. Pick up one of these bad boys. This is awesome.
Well, I'll tell you, the fight sequence in the cemetery, the Wonder Woman, that combat song that always picks up that da-da-da-da-da, you know, that really cool beat, that was playing in my head as I'm reading this. Uh-huh. It's so fitting. Again, the brilliance and beauty of the motion, of the chaos that is combat, and the elegance that Diana brings to it. It's the dance. It's that ultimate dance that she does, and just the way they played this out, paneling the motion. And I love the sequence when, with one hand, she's blocking the shots, the other hand, she's taking off her headband or tiara, whatever it is, and then throws it, and then knocks on the guys that way, and then just the flips and the usage of the lasso. I was like, oh, this is such brilliant. You know, I would love to physically see this, you know, on the big screen. I would love to see this actually live action kind of stuff, but in a way, you don't need to, because the art team does such a great job bringing it to life that I am living this. I am going, this is awesome.
This dialogue was really great. We did not fear anyone, neither men nor gods. The government, Batman, Superman, the Justice League, none of them could ever hope to touch us. But her, we were buffoons. We should have feared her. You see, the rest of them are soldiers, but she is an artist. That beauty of that sequence where you see everyone on the ground. Let us talk. The confidence in that moment. It was so super cool. And I mean, again, awareness of surroundings. I love that there's a sniper sitting in the tree, and it's like, you know what? He's trying to present a scenario right here where, they defended themselves from her, and she's got the lasso on the other guy, basically painting the picture that's there. And I really love that Diana just has this game, completely under control. Against Sergeant Steele, who at this point we've established he's got serious game. And you're right, can give her a run for her money, but he underestimated her. And that's where you can give him a run for her money all you want to, but if you don't understand what you should be paying, there's an interesting sort of game going on here. I loved everything about this sequence, because after everything we've seen in this issue, we needed a moment. That catching of the fist, the crack, the visual of it, and when, he's, please don't use that word. It upsets me. I loved every bit of that. It's a power moment, and it was her being who she is, her being Wonder Woman. And there was something very unique to it and something just super powerful about it. I really loved everything about the play out of that.
Oh, big time. Big time. And again, showing just Diana Throughout that, you had that grace in that one moment where she had to flex the muscle just to make sure, remind him just how powerful she is. She can go one-on-one with Superman strength-wise. Now, granted, Superman is, I'm pretty sure, stronger, but she can give Superman a run for the money because of the training, because of, as they said, she is an artist when it comes to this combat stuff. That's something that she's got over the rest of the Trinity. Batman's a great fighter. Superman's awesome. But Diana has that, that skill. I can't remember what issue it was or what book, but they were talking about who's faster, Wonder Woman or Superman. And the comparison that I think it was Batman who said it. Who's faster, Usain Bolt or Bruce Lee? That's the kind of comparison that you have with this. Clark can physically run faster and faster, but when it comes to like the motion, when it comes to the combat, when it comes to all that, Diana has him 100% beat. And I love just that usage. And right here, again, another brilliant page that shows what she's capable of without it going over the top. And then you go on to the next page with the people sitting there going, what? Wonder Woman's public enemy number one? This is ridiculous.
It's interesting as the story starts to wrap up, we see what's happening with the reaction of people to this whole thing. Them, basically saying that there's an arrest warrant out on Wonder Woman. Like, it's about to hit. And them just realizing, no, they can't do that. Like, she's an American hero. Not even American, like, to the world, the universe, the whole multiverse, the whole thing. I wore Wonder Woman underoos. They can't. No, I mean, I love that. Yeah. The Times are confirming it. And people just having this reaction right now where you're going to see a very divided society, which is so compellingly true to where our society's at right now, right? That's where this is well written. This is very today. The handling of this situation, the way the story's reacting to it, the way the media and the people are reacting to it is very much, we are as a culture right now, and it's not truly where we're at, but we're pushed into two camps. You're pushed A or B. In conversations with people, we're kind of being engineered to be pushed in that way. And a lot of us, don't fall necessarily into A or B. You fall, honestly, somewhere in the middle, because there's elements of A, there's elements of B in all of us to varying degrees, right? It's interesting to see, how this is just very reflective. And I love when writers do this. I just think there's a lot of talent there.
Yeah. Now, one thing I'm wondering, okay, so we got the Sovereign. Again, great ending to the issue showing this Sovereign, this king who is secretly running the world, and he's got the lasso of lies. And obviously he's using that to manipulate people. Now, the one thing I'm wondering is, can he only manipulate males? Because we do see the females who are, saying this is ridiculous. She can't. She's a hero. She's she's a hero to the world, to the multiverse. Is it they're not affected because of male-female thing? And then again, that also gets me thinking, if it's all males, can people resist it? Because again, I'm immediately thinking different heroes. I'm immediately thinking Steve, because that's going to play out somehow. There's going to be a moment where these two are going to be on opposite sides. And I want to wonder how that's going to play out, what's going to happen.
Yeah. It's an interesting sort of storyline that's playing out there. One of the pieces that's also beautiful is you kept mentioning beauty in this story. The Washington Monument, we see that piece, and we see Diana and Steve gradually walking away from it. That was a beautiful sequence. The scenery's gorgeous. It's something we always talk about, character models and action and those type of things in comics. I really love when a writer and an artist establish sequences that are devoted towards landscapes and giving you a sense of scale and scope. Diana's a world traveler. You should see her in big places. Her trying to blend in a place like this, you have to see her be Diana Prince at certain points in time, because she needs that connection. It's a way for her to be able to talk to people like Steve. The Sovereign, obviously we see the Sovereign at the end, and this idea that all along America's perception of freedom has never been a thing, that there's always been a sovereign that took advantage of the desire for that quote-unquote freedom to establish a culture. That part is way cool. This is a neat way, especially when you get into conspiracy theories and things like that, to have a book that is just so blatantly playing that out. It's awesome.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. And again, I love this. I love this villain for Diana. This is the perfect villain for Diana.
Yeah.
Of all the trinity of all the heroes, she's the one that you got to do this with, and I think that's perfect because she is, in a way, she is kind of like is their Captain America. And it's kind of weird to say that considering technically she's not an American, and she but you look at her history, you look at her past. She of all the heroes in the DC universe, to me, is the closest thing that DC would have to a pro-America kind of thing. Even though Superman for the longest time was truth, justice, and the American way, he always seemed more than that to me. And Diana, I'm not saying she is a rip-off carbon copy, whatnot, but you look at her past, she's always had that Washington DC connection. She's had the connection with Steve. They had her, in World War I or World War II, depending on which story you're talking about. So it's kind of a neat thing to have, this type of villain up against her.
Yeah, yeah. What a good book. Really, really good.
Oh, God, yeah.
Look at those strange little beetles. They look... Great neutron!
Our next discussion is on Nightwing, issue number 106. The writer is Tom Taylor, artist Stephen Byrne, colors by Adriano Lucas, letters by Wes Abbott, cover by Bruno Redondo, Redondo, variant covers, Dan Mora, Jamal Campbell, 125 variant, Vasco Georgiev. The editor is Jessica Burby. Group editors Ben Abernathy, and Nightwing was created by Marv Wolfman and George Perez.
I really wanted to do this one because it's a new story arc for Nightwing. This book has been really nailing it. It's become one of my favorite books. I just jump to it every month. Nightwing over the years has really enjoyed in a unique way, some really strong runs, where people have been on the book for a decent amount of time and really established some cool pieces. What I like about this is it's brought back some elements of when Dick Grayson was shot, and it was Rick Grayson,
Yeah.
And I'm glad that we got to see elements of that brought back in, and how that time did, now let's bring back some of the toys from that and have Dick Grayson reacting to it now. That part was really, really intriguing to me. Go ahead.
I was so happy when they brought back B, because I was like, yes,
yep.
I love this sequence. Because again, I liked Rick. I wanted, Dick Grayson back. I wanted Nightwing back. But him living this life, and especially how everything played out with where they're manipulating the memory loss and all that kind of brilliant stuff that the comic story was telling, going back to that, And again, this is a neat way to restart a program for Dick Grayson, for Nightwing. And it's funny because he's already in the middle of a revamp with him and the Titans and everything going on there. So this, for me, was absolutely one of those, this is kind of cool that they're going back to the well. They're going back to the history on this. And I love just this opening where, again, we go back to the Rick Grayson. We go back to, him getting this mysterious package from somebody from the circus, I was like, oh, this is awesome.
What's interesting is this is all this package that he received when he was Rick Grayson. And it was something for him. But at the time when he's Rick Grayson, he didn't have any memory, he had no connection. So this was something that he needed to put in protective storage. And this quartermaster's enter into the scene. And it was really something where, not knowing the relationship of the quartermaster with B, just knowing that this was somebody that B knew that is known for keeping things safe. that part was just really intriguing. Now that we go back to present day, this is something that Dick Grayson doesn't, fully comprehend. Like, okay, what was that I'm looking for? I really liked the shift from B back to present day and to Barbara. I am digging the relationship between Dick Grayson and Barbara Gordon. I hope they let this keep going on because it's refreshing in comics to feel a progression in a relationship that I hope doesn't fall apart again. I root for these kids.
This is a relationship that I want to see survive. I want to see, go on. I want to see the marriage. I want to see the kids. Yep. I want to see just this growth of this relationship. This is one of those where we need to have, Babs and Dick together. We need to have them together. This is, Nightwing and Oracle. Dick Grayson and Barbara Gordon. It's this is a team up that we 100% need to have. And you bring back the ex-girlfriend, you bring back the past. I was like, oh, this is going to be interesting because I always had a weird theory of a what if B got pregnant from Rick Grayson. And I always thought that would be a weird little twist that you could put on the story where, because of the time they were together, there's another, he's got a little one out there with her and not with Barbara. And I always thought that'd be a kind of a neat, cool story to tell.
Do you think it's in the hold? What's in the hold?
Well, they've shown that hold before. They've shown that Quartermaster before. He's been a character on this series before. And I like that it was B who, because again, she runs a seedy bar in not the best neighborhood of Bloodhaven. She would have these connections, I like that. I thought that was a really cool connection. And then, again, with Nightwing checking it out, but before he gets there, you gotta love this. The Heartless isn't gone yet. And I'm like, yes.
Yeah, that's something that I really, really enjoyed. Heartless is one of those characters that I think has been really a compelling introduction because you brought in this character that is just like mega powerful. And, there's a reason for this character to just kind of be into, like a place like the Hold is an awesome place for the Heartless to go into because of everything that's contained within. And the Quartermaster, who's very used to running through people, the Quartermaster who's very used to basically we're impenetrable and this is what we do. It's an interesting sort of piece. I really enjoyed the idea, and I love that the Heartless didn't really win there. Yeah. Like the Heartless got into the space, thought that the Heartless was going to get into the Hold, and the Hold has vanished. So there's a whole other layer. I love this kind of intrigue.
Oh, big time. And again, you think back to, we know how tough Heartless is. So all this, again, this all fits who he is. And Quartermaster, that's a tough guy, but not good enough. You need to have a heart to live, and he may be tough, but he can't survive without that. And he was absolutely, again, brilliant usage of it. And then I love the fact that Nightwing is above boards.
Yeah.
He's not operating out of the shadows. He's not he's not a deputized marshal or anything like that, but he's sitting there openly talking with the police. He's actually openly dealing with them. Now, granted, he's got the Oracle on the side doing her own thing, but there is a positive connection between him and the police, especially with how he wants to portray the Titans as the new Justice League. He needs to have that. Plus, that's something that's always been Dick Grayson. He's not the bat in the shadows. With the couple gruff words. When he had the cowl on, he was the Batman who used to pose for pictures and smile, and he was the friendly Batman. So I love seeing these interconnections. I love to see him interacting with the police.
Has the summer event happened already in Nightwing? Like, is this taking place after that? Where people fear the heroes now? Is this something where Nightwing, because of the way he operates, is in a better place with the police and his community because of the way he operates? or has that not happened yet? We don't know that, do we?
We don't know for certain, but I was reading this as if it hasn't happened yet.
Okay.
Because that when they start doing the Titans, the Beast story, that's where that happens immediately after the summer, after Insomnia.
Yeah. I guess I'm just wondering where Nightwing occurs within relation to Insomnia and where that goes. Because Nightwing had issues. Because Nightwing's book was a book that was put on hold. Right. So Nightwing had issues during it, and I guess that's what I was wondering. Does this take place before or after? I don't remember off of that, but I don't know. I don't know that I don't necessarily need to know that now. I'm more hoping that Nightwing somehow is able to maintain the relationship with Maggie Sawyer and not have that change because of the events of the summer event. I just like the distinction that you're mentioning. Like, he's above board out in the open, so he's built this relationship. And even if the people, I don't know how, even if the people in the community view him differently, I hope that isn't a thing. I hope for Nightwing that he's able to maintain that because he's gone out of his way to build that. So it's interesting to see where that will go.
Well, I think that's going to be the whole, part of, because again, I really don't think the summer event has happened yet in the way the story is being told. And the reason I don't think that is because I think Nightwing is going to have a direct connection with the Titans, that Beast World story arc. And I think that the Beast World story arc takes place immediately after the Insomnia event. Okay. And Tom Taylor's, I think, one of the main writers for Beast World. So he's writing this and he's writing that. So I think this is going to be, we're going to see the Beast World. We're going to see that moment when the world starts turning on the heroes, in the Nightwing book, as well as in the Titans book, as well as in the Beast World story arc.
Yeah, that's something that I'm finding really, really intriguing. I love this book. I love that I care. Like, I want this book in my mind to fall into some clean continuity. I think it's going to. I think you're right. What we're going to get is exactly what you're talking about. We're going to get this this book clearly taking place where I think Beast World is going to be where it's done. I love the relationships here. I love the Nightwing cycle, and just there's certain even the whole ambulance chasing thing was pretty cool. There was something that I enjoyed about, like, the humor with that. There is a humor in this book that Dick Grayson's always been one of those characters, obviously known for years as being the puns and the one-liners and things like that with Batman. I like that in this book he still does that, without being too over the top. There should be a distinction between him and Spider-Man, for example, who the quips should come a little bit more frequently with Spider-Man, the way that they do from time to time, because that's just kind of his way of operating. Nightwing, there's a humor there. It's just, it works differently. And I like humor when it's used that way. And Dick Grayson's confidence and competence is something that I really, really respect, because this guy is a long-standing hero. And there's something important to that.
And again, like with the last issue, with the Wonder Woman issue we talked about, the art team working with the writing did a brilliant job on that. Because this is another one of those heroes where the physical motion, the fluidity of what he's doing, you got to capture it on flat paper. You got to actually, it's not, we don't have motion, so they've got to do it, do some little tricks and just give us some really cool sequences that really do show his physical capabilities, what he's able to do. This is the art, this is the acrobat, and you need to have that. And just the moments, because you talk about just the comic moments, yes, but I do like the fact that he tried to reason with him initially, and even Babs gave him a little bit of grief over, hey, I appreciate that, but come on, really? And it's like he tried to, hey, let's just talk this over. He tried to, instead of just turning this immediately into a beatdown, let's have a conversation. Now, granted, that didn't work too well for him, but in the end, it kind of did, because it got him in an audience with the boss.
One of my favorite lines is, "You're stuck in here with us now. There's nowhere to clink." And he's grabbing his arm back. And I mean, the fight in the ambulance was pretty terrific. I mean, that was something that was an important sort of piece. Especially before we get to, like, kind of the reveal as far as who really is running the ship. Which I thought it was great that it was B.
Oh, big time. I 100%. I was like, even though they showed her at the beginning, I 100% was not thinking it was her. I didn't know who it was going to be. They talk about, Captain Blood. I'm like, Captain Blood? Who the heck is that? Even he's like, Captain Blood. And it's B. And I'm like, oh, that is awesome. And it's funny. I'm trying to remember, does she know he's Nightwing? I can't remember if she ever knew he was Nightwing in a past life. Because he remembered, and he turned his back on that life because that's what he did. He didn't want to do that. And I can't remember if he ever told her, this is what I used to do.
I thought she knew. I thought she knew at the end. I don't remember. I have to look back and check. But for some reason, I thought she knew.
I'm in the same boat. I thought she did, but I'm not 100% positive on it.
Like when she says, "Hello, Nightwing," I was more taking it that she already knew.
Right, but she's keeping the cover.
Yes.
Yeah, that's kind of how I was reading it, but I wasn't 100%. And I think that's, again, I hope that's the case, because that's kind of neat, because I want to see these two interact. They had a great interaction, but, again, as we just said a couple minutes ago, I don't want to lose, I don't want to lose the Babs relationship. But, and it's funny because now we know what happened to the hold.
Right,
B took the hold, and it's literally on the water now.
Yeah.
This is how they're protecting it. They're keeping it mobile instead of a single location. And again, it was neat that they recognize they can't have their person, they can't have the quartermaster fall into the hands of the law enforcement. So the fake ambulance snatches up the body and brings the body back. That was the whole point of all that. And it does show this is an organized group. This isn't just thrown together. Now they're calling B captain. So is she 100% in charge? Is there other people? That's what I want to know. What's going on with her? What's going on with the hold? What's going on with all of this stuff? I think, again, another issue that did a great job of changing, the character around without throwing it completely on its head and making you go, what the heck is going on here? Everybody feels the same. Everybody feels, like, they should feel, but it's a progression of the story. So now we're in the next chapter in these two characters' lives. And I want to see that.
Yeah, it's really terrific. I'm really enjoying everything about this book. I love this backup story. So, we're getting a flavor of Nightwing interacting with the Batgirls. Which was a book that I was really sad was canceled because I was really, really enjoying it and giving a Nightwing a chance to be training with Cassandra. I mean, because one of the things that you would imagine with the Bat family is there's reasons to get together. There's reasons to spar. There's reasons to learn from each other. And I love that she's teaching him how to do moves and he's picking up on them, because he learned some new fighting style from her. She's kind of training that piece. And he's teaching her how to cook. Or, they're teaming up together to cook. And that was something that was, it was great. Especially her sitting there with this frown going, Steph thought these were cute. But he's linking cooking and the discipline of cooking to, in some ways, combat and fighting for her. I love that he's being watched by an outside source. And they're so close to discovering his identity. They're so close to discovering her identity. But he keeps missing the clues. Just from looking away at the wrong time or whatever and not being in the right spot. I love that you're like waiting for this to reveal to happen that never comes. And it was really cool. There was something about this whole story. It was fun, but yet... Again, not too slapstick where you're losing the fact that this is Nightwing and Cassandra. It was more of this villain isn't quite as competent as some of the other ones. And that part I really enjoyed.
Oh, big time. And again, like you said, I loved how just at Steph comes in her spoiler outfit, but he's away, going to the bathroom. So then he comes back and he sees Steph in the one outfit. And he's like, what? What's this guy? And he's just seeing Dick Grayson. He's following Dick Grayson. And he's just not missing. He sees him as this playboy who's, slumming it in this town. Doesn't see them as hanging out with, these are his friends. He doesn't catch the training. He doesn't catch that kind of stuff. I absolutely love that. Again, who are going to be these villains? They're not going to be too world domineering, dangerous, but it's going to be some fun stuff going on.
Yeah. And that was a piece that I really, really enjoyed, was seeing the stuff that was going on in this. I loved the use of Stephanie, where she comes in and he just happens to miss it. There's something about these characters interacting. I love that he mistakes that as him dating multiple women.
Yeah.
It kind of drives off at that point. But we've got a storyline that is still continuing on here, because he was looking to kidnap him. He's got the taser there. He's got the tape, he's got the rope. So that part is really, really terrific. I really loved that it ended because of the fact that he's like, I can't do this right now with so many people present. And that part really was something that stuck with me. This is a great book. It's a fun book. There's something about Nightwing being this accessible sort of read. I don't need, we got a lot of crossovers going on right now. I'm enjoying them. It's the Batman Catwoman things going on. We just came off of the summer event. We got big events going on in Wonder Woman and all these other books. I like that Nightwing right now, we've got him in the Titans book. We've got him going on in Nightwing. We're getting ready for that crossover, but I can let that wait, for a little bit as we finish off the Batman one. It seems like DC has these, to the point of avoiding event-itis, stagger some of these things so that way they're not all coming out at the same time. I really like how they're pacing their scheduling. It just seems like I'm ready for Nightwing and the Titans to hit into a crossover because of the way that they're pacing everything, if I'm making any sense.
Yep. No, perfect sense. And I agree with you completely. Yeah. They're doing a brilliant job with this dawn of DC, these big stories that are coming out. And as we said, when we're initially talking about with Nightwing, where does it take place? I'm pretty comfortable in where it takes place and what I think. And I know we're going to eventually get a good solid lock on that and what's going on when all the stuff playing out with the Titans starts kicking it into the gear. So I'm looking forward to, again, seeing how these characters are affecting the overarching DC universe. And that's something that we're getting a lot of. And I'm very happy about it.
I'm going to be putting on the website this week a poll. One of the things I like to put in that poll is just overall feelings of the dawn of DC. Are you loving this? Are you loving certain books? I'll give people the option to be able to choose, the current dawn of DC books and, pick favorites and things like that. Are you not liking it? If you fall in that category of, not finding it underwhelming or something like that. And more importantly, why? I'd like to get kind of a pulse of our audience, as far as where are you at with this event. So I'm going to start up a poll. It'll be on, there'll be a link on Raging Bullets, but I'm going to have it posted in our Facebook group. Just because I really want to get kind of a vibe on, I know how you and I are feeling. I would love to get a vibe on our listening audience. Is it, are you in our camp? Because you and I seem to be really liking what they're doing right now as kind of a global thing. Are you kind of like hit and miss? And are you like, this is just not your cup of tea right now? I'd be very curious to see where our audience is. So please look for that poll. I'll put a notice on Raging Bullets website this week when the poll goes up. And we're looking for a lot of participation in this one. I'd really like as many people as possible to give us kind of a pulse on where you're at. I'd like to start doing this kind of thing a little bit more, maybe not always with polls, but with other ways of being able to interact with the show, where we're getting some of your voice into our commentary, just to see, and even questions that you can ask or to participate in the show that way. Just because we really want to get more of your feedback in there. But, yeah, look for that poll on the Dawn of DC.
Now I can get out of here.
I would like to remind everyone about our show voicemail line. It's 1-440-388-5672. 4434 or drnorge on Skype. RagingBullets@gmail.com is where you can connect to us through email. RagingBullets.com is our show website. We always give out updates on show episode releases. It feeds into our Facebook fan page. It feeds into Twitter, or X, or whatever you want to call it now. We are proud to be part of an amazing Facebook group community, and that's where I go for all my DC news and comic news in general. There's actually a great article up there right now about some of the concerns about where, actually even companies like DC and Marvel and where they fit as far as in overall comic sales right now. It's an interesting time for comic books, and so I urge you to head over to the Facebook group community and check out things like that. We're sponsored, as always, by DCB Service and InStockTrades.com. Mr. Seguin, what's going on over at DCBService.com?
We have The Outsiders, issue 1 of 12, 40% off, $2.99. Speed Force, issue 1 of 6, 40% off, $2.99. And Superman 78, The Metal Curtain, issues 1 and 2, both 40% off, only $2.99. Thank you, DCBS.
Over at InStockTrades.com, once again, Batgirl Year 1 trade paperback 2023 edition, $19.99, regularly 50% off, only $9.99. DC vs. Vampires All Out War Part 2 hardcover, $19.99, regularly 50% off, only $9.99. I want to thank DCB Service and InStockTrades.com for continuing to support our show. Remember to check out the About Us section of our show website. That's how you can connect with us on all kinds of social media and also gaming platforms. Basically, we want to connect with you the way that you want to connect. I'm also available on the Is It Jaws podcast, where I regularly co-host with Paul and really enjoy being a part of that podcast. If you're a fan of movies, we're a fan of talking about them. So please join us over on that podcast. Our next episode, Jim and I are going to be back. We're going to be talking about a Green Lantern War Journal, and we're also going to be talking about Batman Gargoyle of Gotham. We will see you next week.
Bye.
All right, you guys. Are you ready to sing your song?
I'd say we are. Yeah, let's sing it now.
Okay, this should be fun. Now get ready for your cue. Okay, Sean?
Okay.
Okay, Jim? Jim? Jim!
Okay. Raging Bullets time is here. We talk about what we hold dear. Comic books and TV shows. Superheroes and their clothes. Justice League and so much more. I just love Green Lantern Corps. We talk about the books we've read with spoilers straight ahead.
Okay, fellas, get ready. That was very good, Sean.
Naturally.
Jim, you're a little flat there, so be careful. Jim? Jim? Jim!
Okay. Justice League and so much more. I still love Green Lantern Corps. DC Comics are what we know. The Raging Bullet Show. DC Comics are what we know. The Raging Bullet Show.
Excellent job, guys.
Let's sing it again. Yeah, let's sing it again.
No, that's enough. Let's not push it.
Push it. What is that? Yeah, what are you talking about?
No, I didn't mean anything by that.
I think you're going to do it.
Jim, how long do you want the song to go?
Look, it's our production.